have any time to even really communicate, because it's always at a table in a room, and it's just, that wasn't my function to get to know everyone intimately, you know.
Right.
Yeah. But it was similar to what you were talking about, liaison and things like that.
But the table you're talking about is a table surrounded by humans not from this planet, right?
Yeah, they look like humans in general, yes.
And this took place at times also on Mars, right?
That's where they all took place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you ever meet with these people here? Because as Bob was saying, he met with some scientists was
not
working.
here.
I see.
I just want to jump in before the end of the tape to say that we've got our own communication.
I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Did I ever meet with them? When I was not working, yes. But that's another story. It's a long time ago.
It's another interview.
Oh, right, okay.
I just want to say on record that the person who Alfred Webre is talking about is Andy Vajago. We've been in touch with him for 18 months. We haven't met him personally, but I personally spoke with him 18 months ago for 4 hours continuously, which is one of the more extraordinary conversations I've had in my life. I've had quite a lot of extraordinary conversations now.
And I lasted about 2 hours. I couldn't last the whole time, I have to be honest.
And as far as we are able to determine, and I'm just speaking epistemologically here, we fully support Andy's story, and we fully support his own intention in order to release the story to the world, and he's only told a tiny part of it so far. And what's really interesting here is that this dovetails fully with Arthur's personal experience, to do with time travel, to do with wormholes, to do with the relationship with activity on Mars, and a whole complexity here that's very hard to swallow, but it's extremely important to understand. And I just wanted to add our own support to that, and this is something else that we'll pick up and roll with later, because it's way beyond the scope of this conversation.
Okay, but I had a conversation today with one of our whistleblowers, and he actually he was talking about the amount of radiation on Mars and questioning...
No, he wasn't. He was talking about the radiation in the Van Allen belts.
No, he actually also talked about the radiation on Mars, and I was asking him about that, and I said that the bases were underground. Is there radiation on Mars in excess of what we have, for example, here on Earth?
Because of what I was doing there, I wasn't even focused on thinking about those things. I simply was going there for an hour, it sounds strange, for an hour meeting, and then I'd leave and come here. And so, for me, because of the way my life's been like this forever, you know, it's nothing was unusual. I didn't even think about things like that, whether there's a radiation or not. Those things were just handled by the way the system was set up there, or is set up, or will be set up. I don't even know what time period it is now. That's another subject. But
well, you had physiological reaction to having gone through that process, isn't it?
Yes, right? Yeah. That's another thing, because of the kind of like jet lag kind of thing. There was medicine that I was taking that when I quit, I actually forgot about, because everything happened so suddenly when I quit that it was not available any longer. But that's another subject again.
All stuff to be, yeah. Earlier at the start of this conversation, Arthur made a joke and said that he ran away. This is not true, and I didn't want you I didn't want that to be misunderstood. It was after a disagreement at work. You basically handed in your notice.
It was kind of it was not even a disagreement. It was
a conflict.
It was just I got very tired, because things were becoming more and more restricted in my life, to the point of where I could no longer even call my friends or email my friends. And instead of just trying to sit it out and go through all the massive paperwork and things and waiting, I just decided, you know, I would make the decision instead.
Yeah. But basically, it was a relatively sudden departure,
very sudden,
rather than being gradually rooted out, and that involved you're suddenly not taking anymore a particular medication,
which I forgot about, because I just I literally left everything behind in my home and just went to another country.
What I'm stating here is that the medication that you took was something called Lorenzil, which, if you suddenly withdraw from that, that the effects that Lorenzo is designed to ameliorate is something that's called transdimensional disorder.
Well, this is what I understand from someone else that I didn't know about. So
okay, and this is all got to. I mean, this is another thing that's beyond the scope of this conversation. It's got to do with the zero-time reference and things that Peter Moon has talked about in his first Montauk books and so on and so forth. But the body gets very disoriented when it's going through jump gates or jump rooms or whatever it is you want to call these things. And there's a certain medication that one has to take in order to ameliorate that. If you suddenly withdraw from that, then you're in big trouble. And this is one of the things that you're up against.
Right, and I think that at another point we can talk in more depth about that. But for the purposes of this conversation, to kind of return to we're really talking about the future of the humanity and our interaction with, well, certainly Anunnaki on Mars. But we had a statement that was made which said, it's been said to us by Robert Dean and also some other whistleblowers that the Anunnaki are running things from behind the scenes here on Earth. And I wonder if you, Alfred, would address that at all.
Or trying to.
Right. Well, certainly I've heard that there are various, that is, to take a model of how decisions are made here on Earth. There are various models which have some evidence for them. One model is a more drastic model than the Anunnaki model, and that involves whether or not this is a true model or is a model based on disinformation. Involves the existence of a reptilian race in the fourth density, that is one more density up from us. They have more control over time, and that density has been behind the phenomenon of alien abductions. Now, there are researchers like Dr. Stephen Greer who believe that all abductions, the Roper poll shows that about 2% of the US population, or about 6 million people, have been abducted, which is a substantial number of people. And there are researchers like Dr. Stephen Greer who believes that all of the abductions are psyops and are essentially done by elements of the US government, a psychological warfare both against the human population and against the ethical extraterrestrial population to stigmatize them. Whether or not that's true or not, there's certainly evidence that both small gray-looking beings and reptilian beings have been engaged in extraterrestrial abductions of this substantial number of people with a high strangeness thing. So, and these have been with secret contracts. So,
but the fourth dimensional aspect, which is the interdimensional quality of this interaction and the fact of these beings, is a little different, I would say, than what we interact with in terms of the Anunnaki.
Yes,
in theory, anyway.
This is a different sort.
We've got 1 second
of interaction.
We've got to stop.
How much? What do we got? 1 minute. Okay. Then let's do some sort of a summation, and like you to handle that, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think that we've established that the release of secrecy, we know empirically from yesterday, is a great consciousness-raising event, and it will be the deconstruction of secrecy with these great cosmic cycles that will mediate a positive human future.
That's a natural,
almost natural event.
Yeah.
Arthur, Alfred, thank you so much for spending your time with us. We'll continue this conversation later. And we have to come to an end here because we've got no more digits. And
Me,
Kerry, thank you
digital
too.
film. Yeah,
for helping to make this
absolutely.
possible.
Thank you so much. This has been a fun but enlightening event we've got going here, and we're going to continue this conversation for years to come, I'm sure.